right, good afternoon. How's everyone doing? Good? Lively. It's after lunch. He's tired. You've caught up on all the headlines. No, can't wait for the former president to speak this evening. Should be interesting. I'm taking bets. Do you think he'll say mission accomplished? No? Too soon? Okay. My name is Matthew Glotzbach, and I'm the CEO of Quizlet. Who here has heard of Quizlet? All right, good. Who has used Quizlet? All right, excellent, excellent. The rest of you, get to it. Quizlet is a leading direct-to-consumer learning platform. And so what does that mean? Well, about a decade ago, we started off as online flashcards with a simple idea of you could take something that was tried and true that worked really well and turn it into a digital version that would work even better. And over the last 10 years or so, we've grown to some reasonable scale. We now have over 30 million people who are using Quizlet on a monthly basis to study and learn. That represents nearly 100 million unique visitors to the site. 1 in 2 high school students, 1 in 3 college students, and growing from there fairly quickly. We're also interesting in that we're user-generated content, which I know in many circles in education is somewhat heretical because there's not the top-down control in terms of the content that's on the platform. But as a result, we've found the ability to serve a wide range of user needs in terms of what people are trying to practice and master. And that's our mission, is to help people practice and master whatever they're trying to learn. And in doing so, we've aggregated over 250 million different sets of content, representing over 8 billion different things that people are trying to learn. But our longer-term vision is to take all of that content, to leverage all of that data, and really help use the technology of the day to build an AI-powered tutor that'll help anyone learn anything. Now, it's important to point out this isn't replacing the teacher. It's not replacing textbooks or core content or curriculum. We don't do scope and sequence. But yet, when a user comes to us and says, hey, I'm trying to learn this, I'm trying to learn how mitosis in plant cells works, we can help guide that user down that pathway that they've chosen. And we can do so in a way that's fun and engaging. But before I get too far ahead of myself and talk about the future, let's talk about how Quizlet works today. So probably the most unique thing about Quizlet is that our growth is viral. The most common way that people find out about us is either word of mouth or doing a Google search. So we'll take an example. Here's my friend Brooke, a real person. This isn't actually her. This is just some clip art version of her. But a real person, Brooke, who is a waitress, a mother of 2, and she decided she wanted to be a nurse. So she started studying for nursing. And if anybody knows, when you want to go be a nurse, you have to, after you go through the requisite training, you have to pass the NCLEX exam. And so somebody told Brooke along the way, not me, somebody told Brooke about Quizlet. And she said, oh, great. And so she went to Quizlet. And the first thing she found was literally hundreds of different pieces of information about other users who've studied for the NCLEX exam on the platform. And so immediately she could get up and running and start studying. She could also create her own content or tailor the content she was learning to what she needed to do. So she starts studying. She uses a variety of different study modes and games. And so although we started as online flashcards, we've built a variety of different ways to basically ask users questions, have them answer those questions, and then give them feedback on their results. And of course, she takes the NCLEX exam. She masters it. Now she's a nurse. Yay. But most importantly, she tells everybody about it. Along that journey, she tells people, oh, I'm using this great product, it's Quizlet, and so a lot of people find out about it. Also, any content she creates on the platform is then available for other users, and so the next person that comes along and says, oh, does a Google search and say, I'm looking to find study materials for the NCLEX, Quizlet shows up at the top of the stack, and they discover NCLEX, and they discover Quizlet, and they start studying as well. And that's a really important viral loop. And if you think about us, again, not as an EdTech company, but as a consumer products company, it's really built on that foundation. And as a result, over the last decade or so, we've built a really strong brand. Now, I often joke that if you're under the age of 25, you know about Quizlet, or if you're over the age of 45, you know about Quizlet. If you're under the age of 25, you've used Quizlet as part of your education. If you're over 45, you have kids or nieces or nephews that use it. But there's this kind of donut in the middle of 25 to 45 who've never heard of us. But we're one of the largest things that you've never heard of, potentially, although most of you raised your hand when I said who's used Quizlet. And as the previous speaker was noting in terms of Net Promoter Scores, we have amazingly high Net Promoter Scores. We're one of those few educational technologies that's loved by students It's loved by teachers, and it's loved by parents, because we help them achieve their mission, which is ultimately to pass a test, to get a certification, to attain some knowledge or some accreditation. So as we take a step back and we think about the future of where education is going and where learning is going, we have a pretty simple thesis at Quizlet. And that is that education, or learning in particular, is becoming unbundled and continuous. So we're moving out of the, and this isn't an if this is going to happen. It's not even a when. It's already happening. And it's actually been happening for the last decade or so. We've moved out of the traditional model of a one-size-fits-all. So if you think about content, the bundled together physical textbook literally distributed on dead trees, that's moving to much more bite-sized atomic pieces of content that are accessible online and digitally through a number of means. We're moving from strict classroom delivery, just as the previous speaker was talking about, to new ways of delivering content, delivering education, and delivering learning. It's very self-directed, and again, not predicting the demise of traditional education, but rather the augmentation of traditional education with other means. Time. The notion that you go to school for 12 years, you get a high school degree, and you're set. Well, that's gone, obviously, and now you go to school for 12 years, and then you go get an undergraduate degree for 4 more years, and then you're prepared for life. Now you're prepared for maybe another couple years, and then you go to get a graduate degree. And so we're moving into this world, or we've moved into this world, where education is continuous and ongoing. You're constantly learning new skills. You're constantly seeking additional information, additional accreditation, additional micro-certifications. And that's the last point. It used to be that a diploma was what you needed to show mastery. You had a certificate that you hung on the wall that said you went to an institution and you stayed there for 4 years and you met some base level of criteria. But today, we're constantly bombarded with new capabilities, new technologies in the workforce that we need ongoing certification, ongoing credentialing. And so in this new world, we believe that the way that learning happens and the technologies that come to bear are also continuing to change and evolve. Now, I mentioned at the beginning that we think of Quizlet as a consumer learning platform, and we distinguish that from what most people define as traditional education technology. I love EdTech. There's all my friends work in EdTech. There's lots of great educational technology. But the fundamental difference between EdTech and consumer learning is EdTech is still directed towards the institution, right? It's technology that's built ultimately for an end student or an end teacher, but it's distributed through districts, through schools, through principals, through IT administrators, through departments of technology, et cetera. Whereas consumer learning is technology that's built directly for the end user. It's distributed out directly to the end user, and they can choose to adopt it to help aid in their learning. Now, we're obviously not the only one in this space. There's lots of people doing really great things in consumer learning, in addition to really great things in EdTech. But we really think that our approach has a set of structural advantages compared to a number of the other players. First and foremost, what's made Quizlet successful over the years is that we're not trying to replace traditional learning. We're not going in and saying, the way you're doing it's broken, fix it by replacing it with ours. We're complementary to learning. So whether that be traditional classroom learning, whether that be online learning, whether that be credentialing, professional, vocational, we're used in conjunction with all of those things. If you go and search on Quizlet for a Coursera course, a Udemy course, a Khan Academy course, you'll find literally hundreds or thousands of sets of content created that align with those digital courses as well, in addition to all the things you would expect from academia. Second, as I mentioned, it's user-generated. So we give the user exactly what they need because they can create exactly what they need to study. Who knows better about what the user needs to learn for the next assessment, the next test, the midterm, than the student themselves or their teacher? And so we give the power of that creation directly to the users. And in doing so, as I said, we're able to span such a wide range of types of learning and types of content that people are going after. And then obviously it's simple and viral. So we come from a consumer products background. We build products that people like to use, that are really easy to use, that are also a little bit fun and engaging. So I think one of the things that surprises most people is that Quizlet also isn't just a K-12 product. And in fact, Quizlet's really used extensively in high school, but then also in higher education, in college, graduate degrees, and then also more and more we're seeing in professional and vocational development. So everything from the electrician who's getting the requisite certification, firefighters, Army Rangers, Starbucks barista yesterday. I was wearing a Quizlet shirt, and she said, "Oh, I use Quizlet to learn how to make the 276 drinks I have to know how to make at Starbucks." So it's literally used for everything, in addition to your traditional middle school and high school academic courses. And as I said, it's a wide array of types of content that are being created. We obviously started in vocabulary. So the origin story of Quizlet was our founder was a sophomore. Andrew was a sophomore in high school, and he was struggling with a very difficult French class that had a lot of demanding vocabulary. And he was using the old tried and true index cards and a Sharpie to learn his French vocab. And he built Quizlet over the weekend to help him with that task. And so although our origins started with vocabulary, and so we still have a lot of English vocabulary as well as foreign language learning, we've really branched into a wide variety of content and subjects. And over the years, we've transformed the product from that humble beginning of online flashcard into a dozen different types of activities that you can do. A couple years ago, we released Quizlet Live, which is a collaborative in-classroom game that's used to help people come together in teams and learn information, and feeding it back into the product, sort of like a digital exhaust to turbocharge the product, where we train machine learning models on how people actually learn and how people study, and use it to guide the pathway. And then also last year, we launched Quizlet Diagrams. So this was our first foray in moving away from just text-based content into helping users create interactive diagram-based content. Again, the same premise or the same model of the power of user-generated content, but now users can upload a base image, they can annotate it, and then we can generate questions and activities around that content for them. And as with that, we've seen a dramatic uptick in anatomy and physiology, geography, things that are naturally more inclined to graphical representations. Something about a picture speaks 1,000 words. And in addition to building a great product with continued growth from a user perspective, we're also building a very big business. And so one of the challenges, if you've been at ASU GSV over the years, you see a lot of companies come and go. One of the challenges that a number of the EdTech companies have is building a sustainable business model. And so again, we've taken a page from the consumer playbook where we've got a freemium subscription-based model. So we allow the vast majority of users to use the product for free. And then we have premium subscriptions for both students and teachers that are still extremely low cost. So on the order of $20 a year for a student, $35 a year for a teacher. But at the scale of tens of millions of users, you can generate a very big business doing that. So as I said, we've come from humble beginnings of online flashcards. We've got big visions of where we're going in terms of building an AI-based tutor to help anyone learn anything. And what we envision of Quizlet of the future is hundreds of millions of users using Quizlet around the world. Just a few years ago, Quizlet was only available in English. We're now available in 19 languages, and so we're more accessible to people around the globe, no matter their native tongue. As I said, obviously the way we help people learn is by building a profitable and sustainable business, so we can continue to reinvest in the technology platform to be able to help more and more people. We're investing heavily in AI and machine learning. I know it's the buzzwords that everybody says around Silicon Valley, but candidly, if you're working for a tech company and you're not investing in machine learning, then you're probably missing the boat. But we think that the asset that we have in literally all of this content and all of this data can help at a scale that's just unimaginable in the offline world, but also unimaginable in the traditional EdTech world. You know, a very successful education technology company may have 10,000, 50,000, or 100,000 users. We see on the order of 1 billion data points per week of people studying. And we can harvest that data and apply that to our machine learning models to help guide studying. And we think it can be really transformational. And last, but definitely not least, as I said, we want to continue to cultivate this brand that's known and loved, especially here in the US, and take that brand globally so that whenever you think about studying and learning something, you think about, oh yeah, I'll use Quizlet to help me with that. We've got a great team that's helping achieve that mission. And with that, with a few minutes left, I'll say thank you and happy to take any questions. Yes, sir?
I assume that bar chart was revenue because you talked about it.
Yes.
The advertising world didn't
That's when I joined. No, no. We really, the company hadn't been investing heavily in revenue generation, so we had the foundations. We had a freemium subscription business, but we hadn't invested in that. And really, that it does mark a shift for when we started to invest in that facet of the business as well. But it's mainly the subscription business that's driving that growth. Other questions? Yes.
I saw also in the consumer learning space with things like Udemy and Khan Academy. Do you see limits to like what types of learning Quizlet can push into that even gets into some of the much deeper and more advanced stuff that I would think Khan Academy doing now?
Yeah, the question was, are there limits to where Quizlet can play, basically, compared to others like a Khan Academy or Udemy? And the short answer is yes today. So, you cap out at foundational knowledge today on Quizlet. As we moved into diagrams, that was one of our starting to push that edge of now you don't learn just the facts about something, but you actually learn the interrelationships about a system of things. But over time, we want to continue to develop the platform to enrich in both the breadth of learning of being able to learn different types of content, but then also the depth, whether you choose a Bloom's taxonomy model or a depth of knowledge model, going into deeper levels of knowledge. Other questions? All right. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoy the conference.